experienced colleagues up here and they talked about their process of how they do FI, it would be different to how I do it. That's the beauty of our method. It's also the thing that makes it difficult to teach, if you like. Okay, so what you're getting with what I'm doing is my particular way of working in FI. Yeah? Different people have very different models. So mine is always to find what the person can do and expand on it. Yeah? I do use ATM ideas, but I don't usually have an ATM in mind that I absolutely go through and put into FI. Other people do it all the time and it works brilliantly. Some people like real templates. If you do this, you put your hand here, you do this, that. You've all got to find your way of making sense of doing this process. So we're going to give you exposure to a lot of different ways. So one of the things I'm after here with you is fundamentally, do you understand how a pelvic clock goes through you? Because if you can understand how every one of these hours of the pelvic clock is going to ask a different organisation through your middle, it's going to take your head to a different place in space, that is incredibly helpful when you're working with someone to try and work out what are the shapes. But it's not just straight lines always going through, but all these different shapes that we can inhabit. So that's why I'm really pushing you a little bit at the moment to go feel it on yourself, get on the floor. What is it? What would the shoulders do? What would the sternum do? What would the ribs do? What would the knees do? So that you're really taking this experience that you're having in your ATM, that sensory motor experience, into what I'm looking for or feeling for in someone else. And it's a big ask.
Is there only one way around the shoulders, people?
Depends if you roll your pelvis or you tilt your pelvis. But definitely once you start doing movements, so, you know, when you're doing all of these, your torso could make a million, and you all have biases. You all have biases. Let's do one thing. Come back to the soles of your feet together, hands behind you. Sitting. Just see how that feels to be in that position now compared to the beginning of the segment. Is it any different? Does your weight feel distributed differently, or does it feel the same? Could you maybe remember what you used to, where you were at the beginning of the segment? Was there some part of yourself that you were holding or not supporting? Okay, so now do your pelvic clock. And feel, what are the planes of movement that you know? How much side bending do you put into your pelvic clock? How much flexion or extension do you put into your pelvic clock? How much rotation do you put into your pelvic clock? They're just the planes of movement. Then there's all the translations. Do you move forward or back as you do it? Left or right as you do it? So some of you keep your head very much in one plane. Some of you really allow your head to really move through space, to be supported by your torso. So, Karen, there's many ways, but can most of you feel that if you want to take your pelvis forward, Where do you want your shoulders to go? Back. No? How easy would it be to take your pelvis forward if your shoulders were coming forward, getting closer to each other? Because if they were doing that, you'd be leaving your hands behind, you'd be taking the weight off your hands straight away. So again, there's many, and you know, just observe. If that half keeps going, keep going your half. This half, just observe. So no, there's never a one way, but there are particular things that will make more sense than others. So look at especially the difference in the movement of their heads. No? Especially this movement through here on them. Do they tend to keep it just in one plane? Do they change the shape of it? So as well, I can look at someone's head circle, and he'd say it all the time and tell you nearly everything about their organisation. Okay, so now do you want to observe this end of the room doing it? You can see how the person orients, how they move through space, whether they like to counterbalance or whether they like to move, how easy it is for them to give up their heads. So these, Karen, are all the individual signatures of doing a pelvic clock or a head circle. And what's really fascinating is that as the training goes on, everyone starts to look more and more the same, not more and more different. So there is an underlying logic, there's an underlying organisation. Which
is the easiest.
Yeah. But absolutely, even if I've got an idea where I think something would be easier to go, my question is always, how do you do that? Where would you go? Huh? I'd never be in there making it happen, ever. Okay, lie on your backs. Think about the movements we were doing this morning with your arm. This morning we had your left arm and left leg up toward the ceiling. And just think through, what do you remember? We started where? Yeah, we started on the side. No? And what were some of the movements that we did? Yeah, and we started off going 12, 11, 1. No? And then what did we do? Not quite. We got there. Yeah. So we did 12, 11, 1. Away, yes, that we sort of went in the direction of the head a few times and back, in the direction of the head and back. Yeah, and then we started to go down, and that was when your head started to lift. So we were starting to get a relationship between your head and your pelvis. And then we did what you said, Margaret, we just got the idea of how we could use the other arm to lift the head so that your head and arm could stay in a constant relationship inside bending. And then we moved again, the arm and leg together and the arm and leg in one direction or the other. Yeah, so take your time, off you go on the other side. And how much can you transfer the sense of what you were doing? And Yeah, on the other side. What was it that we were saying about the weight shift? How your ribs and that you're underneath hip and that you could keep that bottom knee on the ground. You could really keep that bottom knee on the ground so that you were really finding the ability to soften, to change the shape. And of course you can only change the shape of your torso if the big muscles can soften and give up their habitual work. And you've got these long levers, so you're trying to find how they can be light. Because as soon as they go heavy, what happens to your torso if your arm and leg get heavy? Just let them get heavy for a moment. What happens? Yeah, you immediately have to hold your breath. No? It can go under your head. Yeah. So it's really finding this ability that there's something about when my torso is soft and adaptable, head soft, that allows my arm and leg to get longer. And this constant shifting across the ground. And feeling that your shoulder blade can slide. When would it slide back toward your spine? When might it reach away from your spine? How does your hip go down into your pelvis? So what does your pelvis do to roll a little bit back or forward? Can you feel one side of your ribs might get closer together as the other side gets a little bit apart? And again, remember we were looking for this place before we started this. We did all those movements of your eyes and head in opposite directions with your arms so that you were finding this place that you could inhabit where your attention was really free to shift and to move. And you were noticing your breathing, softening into the ground. And you're really feeling, is there something about as I find more of these shapes in my middle that somehow my arm and leg just get longer by themselves? That I don't have to pull them into me. As I begin to mobilize the movement more from my middle. And then you had the up and down if you haven't done that yet, as well as the forward back. And again, it's more about self-direction you're looking for. And your arm and your leg do exactly the same range of movement. Yeah, your leg's doing about Where your head was constantly staying in the same relationship with your shoulder and your arm. So that's turning, Bruce. It was much more about side bending your head. Yay, side bending. So keep your arm, Bruce, keep your arm and your arm and head in constant relationship. So lift your arm and leg. Okay, bring your head closer to your shoulder. Lift your arm and leg. Up. Yeah. Bring your head closer to you without moving. Now, keep that relationship with your head. Your head has to lift higher. If your arm's going down.
Seesaw.
Yeah. And what does your middle have to do now that it wasn't doing before? Yeah?
Sure.
Yeah? And then what was the next position we went on to? Can you remember we transposed it 90 degrees? So then you were more rolling over the other side of your torso. So your arm and leg were resting on the floor, out to the side. And where was your head? What was it about this position of your head side bending? Yeah, nose to the ceiling, nose. Martina, you're gorgeous. So you're staying down there and you're just sliding them up and down. Huh? She's laughing, it's good. It's good to laugh. And it is to all of a sudden realise, like, what am I doing with my head? And you're sweeping your head and your arm and leg all down together, all up together, all down together, all up together. And then a few times you take your arm and your leg toward each other. And feel how your torso makes a different shape. And notice, for many of you, can you feel it's much easier in this position to have your leg long than it is when it's up to the ceiling? So why is that? And for some of you who had it really easily long up to the ceiling, it's not as easy because now your weight's over on that side. You have to find a way to find softness as your weight bearing on that side. Just really notice, is your nose turning? As I said, I find it really fascinating that at this stage, end of first year, and he's gone back to clarifying all these cardinal directions again. Huh? Okay. Stay on your back. Have your right leg standing. Put your left arm and leg toward the ceiling. And just see, what's it like for some of you to straighten your leg in this position? Is it different than when you were on your side or when you were more out to the side? The leg that's in the air. Is it easier? Yeah, what happened?
Actually goes in the air.
How come? What happened? How did that happen? Yeah, the changes in the middle. Ah. Okay, so now you can have your right hand under your head. And could you bring your left hand and your left leg to touch each other? Left hand and left leg to touch each other. And really notice, do you do more with your arm or more with your leg? What's that got to do with your pelvis and how maybe your right leg could help maybe lift your pelvis a little bit? So is your pelvis light? Is it ready to lift? Huh? So really check as you do this, is your pelvis light? What have we been doing with all of these movements to lighten your pelvis? Feel free to lift your head. You might not need to lift your head, but some people do need to lift their head. Okay, so next time you've got it, hold it somewhere where it's comfortable if you can. Long leg, Viv. No, long left leg. Can you lift your pelvis a little bit more? Yeah. Okay, so now, very gently, does it feel it would be easier to swing your arm and your leg over to your left or your right? Just go whichever way is easy. Holding your leg, holding your leg, holding your leg, holding your leg. So watch out for the people around. Not your toes, not your toes, not your toes, not your toes. Holding your leg. Go gently. So now you're sort of going through the hours of your clock. And what has to soften? Feel free. Is your head lifted? Make it easier for you. Can you keep that left foot on the floor? Doesn't mean that it won't roll. Sorry, your right foot. Thanks, Ray. Doesn't mean that it won't roll, but you won't lose the foot. You won't completely give up some of the weight on it. And just finding how would I roll over to put my arm and leg on the left, and how would I roll over to put my arm and leg toward the right. And really feel what has to stay soft in your right ankle, your right knee. So now your knee has to be able to move through space a little bit more. You don't have to have it if it's making it harder for you. But if you can have your hand behind your head, it'd be great. And again, can you stay within a range where you know you don't have to you can find reversibility and feel if you can be prepared to stay within this easy range. Can you feel that your leg maybe just keeps getting a little bit longer and softer as some more ribs soften, as your belly gives up some of its habitual ways of working? And really notice as you do it, do you rotate your head or do you side bend your head? Maybe there could be a bit of element of both, but really play around with what's happening in your neck. Okay, try the other side. Yeah? So the other arm, the other leg. So now your left leg is standing. And again, just feel, what's it like to get this arm and leg up into the air? Is it easier to straighten my leg somehow? That something's softened in my torso. And again, if you can, hold on to your leg as you take it side to side. Nice, Margaret. Beautiful. Yay. So Margaret's feeling a difference between the two sides where she can hold a leg. So what's that got to do with the ability of some ribs to soften or change their shape a little bit more on one side than the other? And is it possible to keep your left foot on the ground? So that, of course, it rolls to the outside border and the inside border, but it's still got the ground. It's still got the ground. Crash. Okay. So, pause, see how you're feeling lying before we do this last bit. So if you know that you're running into someone when you're doing that, just move your mat. Find a place where you know to spread yourselves out more or move along. I can easily move this table back. Where you know that you've got enough room to sort of roll side to side without thinking, this is called adapting your environment.
Creating more space so you don't crash.
Yeah, exactly. Creating more space so you don't crash. Okay. So again, just lying with your legs long, your arms long, seeing how that's coming along after doing those movements. Do I feel that in my efforts maybe to do it, I've shortened up a little bit, I've lost a little bit of my length? Or do I feel because of the self-direction or the quality I was using, I've got even a little bit more length? That's your barometer. Okay, so could you again take your right leg and your arm to the ceiling, your right hand holds your right leg, so your left leg will be bent. Just get a sense, everyone has to be going in the same direction at the moment, okay? Okay, so now what I'm going to suggest is that you could roll a little bit to the left first to get a little bit of momentum, and then you could roll back to your right, swing your right leg in a big semicircle and come up to sitting. With a long right leg, And hopefully a long left leg as well.
I'm so glad you said that, because no one doesn't know. Does it reverse?
So you've got to find the trajectory, yeah? You've got to find... So you've got a long right arm and leg. You can swing a little bit to the left first, and then you're going to come up. You're going to swing, so your leg's going to swing down and then back up behind you. So that for some of you, instead of just facing 90 degrees, you could begin to maybe turn a full 180 degrees to face behind you. Yeah. It's just driving your pelvis. It's having the freedom to let your pelvis keep turning. And to feel that you could do it in a way that as you came up, your left leg would want to come around and really hit your right leg. So you'd end up with both legs together. Both long and both together. Woohoo! You do whatever you like. You do whatever you like to give you pleasure. It's not cheating if it gives you a sense of wellness. And again, some people are finding it really helps if they keep the hand behind the head to help them. That you could face behind you. So maybe if you sat there and thought, ah, that's where I'm going. Yeah? There. Yeah. Huh? Try it the other side. But again, we're all doing it together, so try it the other side. Huh? So can you take your left leg and arm up to the ceiling? And just see as your leg got longer somehow. What happened? All these people who tell me they've got short hamstrings. Have you ever thought of doing this to lengthen your hamstrings? So again, feel free to swing a little. I think one of you needs to move a little bit there. How about, Charlie, you come up this way. We all move along a bit. Huh? Come up, Karen. Huh? Because Fiona and Leonie are just sort of, yes. So just to the left, so we don't crash into each other, okay? Just to the left. Simply to the left. And what does your head have to do? Does it have to rotate or side bend? Yes, well done, Vishali. Does it have to, yeah, because see you rotate, you're side bending the opposite direction. Yeah? Yeah. And you can see what Amanda's doing. Can you see she's not going to get up because she keeps side bending her head the wrong way. So your head has to come to this shoulder. Yay! Now she's just got to swing her pelvis. No, not from there.
Yeah, that's right.
We were when we had our right arm and leg up in the air.
That was brilliant. God, that was amazing.
Good one. Good one. Go for it. She's planning it out. Yeah? Okay, on your backs, both legs up in the air with both hands holding both legs. And feel, do your legs feel a little longer?
My middle feels soft.
Yay! Does anyone else feel their middle feels a bit softer? Yeah? And that you've got shoulder blades. Okay, so now we're going to, so you're starting with your legs together and you're going to go, we're just going to go one direction again for a start. You're going to go open your legs and your right leg's going to go out to the right. We're not coming to sitting at the moment, okay? We're just rolling to the side. And then you're going to let your left leg come really quickly over and meet it on the side. Yeah? And then you go to the other side. So your legs come back together in the middle. So you're really getting the idea of one leg opens, one leg closes. One leg opens, one leg closes. And see if you can really get them to come back together in the middle, if it's possible. If you don't, it's okay. If you just want to keep them wide the whole way, but you're really trying to get the ability that your legs could just do anything, really. And really notice the points where you get stuck is when you want to shorten your arms and legs. Can you feel that? That your knees want to bend a little bit, your elbows want to bend a little bit. Because something stopped moving in your middle. So we're using momentum, wonderful thing to use. Okay, so now we're all going to go to the right doing this, and then you're just going to pop up to sitting. So same movement, you take your right leg out really out and the left leg follows really quickly, and up you go. Now, to go back down to onto your back, could you feel that you could just let your left ear just drop towards your shoulder? Your left ear. No, sorry, your right ear. No, you're going back where you came from. You're going back to where you came from. The left ear has to come to the left shoulder to go back where you came from. Once you're in sitting, it will be much easier. Yeah, let that, now go down. No, don't let your head's popped up again. Your head's popped up. No, no, no. But you're going, which way did you come up?
Right.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, Jenny!
Yeah, Jenny, you're doing it the opposite way. Okay, start on your back. Start on your back. You're going to go to the right to come up to sitting. So which way is your head going to? Right. So to go back down where you to do a big swing back down again. No.
You mean the other way?
Yeah. Yes.
Roll over this way.
Yeah. Now if you keep going down you go. Sorry. There. I was confusing. Yeah? So feel as soon as you can let your head go in the direction that you're going, Simon, let your head go even more. Yeah? And then you won't bump. That's it. And you'll feel your head will do this big movement through space as you're on the ground. Huh? It's when you try and lift your head that you'll get the bumps. Yay! So once you're in sitting, whichever way you want to go, your head must go down. See if you can do it, Jane, let your head stay down lower. Yeah? Let your head side bend rather than rotate. Let your head side bend to go down. That's it.
This is similar to that one that we did like this, wasn't it?
Yeah. But it's about letting this happen. Letting your head go. It's about letting your head go. Huh? Yeah. That's it, Leonie. That's it now. No?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So you can see as you're going down, go on, Vishali, no, but see how her head wants to pop up the other way? Now let it drop even more. Yeah. It's just, and the reason, if I wanted to give you the thing, is that so many of us are addicted to weight bearing that way. And not being able to do that, or that, or that. No? That we can change the shape of our torso. And this is usually the one that people don't like the most, to be able to give up and shorten on their weight-bearing side.
It's really like disorienting, like I can't do this with my head. I can only do it in steps of the movement, because otherwise I've got no idea. If I try and think, I know this.
And you have to give your eyes up.
Yes.
You've got to give your eyes up to get it. So have one more go and we'll finish for today. No, you can have them bent. But just realise, all you're feeling, have fun now. But you'll just feel, when are the bits where I pull it back in? Huh? But have fun, just roll. But the more you give up your head is when people don't get the dizziness. Yeah? Yeah, because you're not giving up your head and your neck and your eyes. Yeah, I'm the same. I know the feeling. Huh? Because then we're allowing ourselves to rely on not our vision to tell us where we are. Huh? Okay. Once more, just before we finish, go back to your partner that you were observing their pelvic clock in lying this morning. And just see what's happened to their pelvic clock after doing that. Huh?